Hi everybody, this is Dee. We're going to start our technical assistance session. We'd like to welcome everybody to the webinar. I am going to put up the pod so that you can check in for your organization. Give me just a second for that and I will add those to the screen. If you have not had the opportunity to check what area that you'd like to ask some questions about, please take a moment to do that as well. Let me pull over the check-in screens here for you so that you can take care of that. We'll give you just a moment to do that. Good morning, Tammy. Would you like to say hello to the group?
Good morning, everyone. Hope everybody had a great 4th of July. Looks like we are making some great progress. We have a lot of applications submitted and quite a few of them that have been enrolled. So I'm really excited about that.
Yay. I am not seeing anybody from DHS on the call, so if you do happen to be on there, just let me know so that we can open up your microphone as well. Okay, everybody's had a chance to check in now, so we're going to move those polls out of the way. Now, today what we'd like to do is start with a couple of items. If you have a specific question about the Employment 101, please type that into the chat pod. Otherwise, we will move on from there. Let's take a look at what we would like to show you. We have a new option available for you on the system. So today what we're going to do is we're going to demonstrate to you the placements section of your dashboard. So I'm going to share my screen. And we're going to pull this open here. And if everybody can see my screen, please just raise your hand with the little man at the top. Okay, so a few people can see. That's great. That's great. Okay, so what we're going to do right now is we're going to talk about getting to the dashboard. And let me show you how you can get there. We're going to, just to remind everybody, you go to illinoisworknet.com/SYEP2014. At the bottom of the screen is your SYEP guide. At the top of that screen, or just below the picture on that screen, we go to sign in to SYEP Partner Tools, and that will take you to the login screen that you can access that will take you to your dashboard. So again, just to remember, everything that you need to know and do is here on your dashboard. So part of the new release that just happened today are the placements. And what you can do now is by going to the placements is you can find the different organizations that are in your purview. I'm logged in as the Area 17, which we have multiple organizations through WIA 17. And then I have another screen that I can show you that has just one placement section. This is a test screen, so they have just the work site for one set of organizations. So what we can do within the actual work site, so for example, Springfield Urban League, you can edit your placement. So you would find the job site that you want to use. After you have added your employers and added your work sites, so now you're going to add the placement, so add the youth to the site. On our questions, it looked like we had a question about adding employers. So if we need to cover that again, we can do that as well. Just let me know in the chat pod if we need to know a little bit more about adding employers. So under the adding placements, or editing placements, I apologize. All right, we'll cover adding employers. Let's just go there first. So adding employers. Under the employers tab, we also have directions in the Get Started for adding employers as well. So under the Employers tab, all you have to do is go to the Add Employer. Now I am in test, so I'm going to make up a name. I'm going to do D's.
Hey Dee,
Yes.
can you, just make your window take up your entire space on your desktop, so just make it a little bit bigger for everybody?
Would you like me to magnify it as well?
I think that would be good. The other option too is that anyone who's looking at the page and you see the Share 19 Dee Reinhardt, in that pod where Dee's sharing her screen, in the upper right-hand corner, there's an icon that looks like it has 4 arrows pointing out the 4 corners. You can click on that, and I'll make that window bigger, and then click on it again, and it'll put it back to its regular size. So if you need to see a larger view, those are some options for you.
All right, can everybody see a little bit better right now? Or if you want to raise your hand with the little man at the top of the screen. Okay. Okay. We will go here. So I'm adding an employer, and I'm going to type these desks. And we are in the sales and inventory business. So, and our phone number is, and this is going to be a work site. We are part of going to have a work site agreement with the Springfield Urban League. There has been a background check. We have done the background check as of today. We have a work site agreement. That is as of today. We have 5 part-time placements and 1 full-time placement that we're going to put here. We fill in the address. And the city, the zip code 62707, last 4, who the primary contact is. Oops, I guess I gotta read my boxes there, don't I? Got too many numbers there. And we're going to add the employer. So now the employer is in the list. So that's all you have to do to add the employer. And then we can we already have our list of youth, which are there, and to place a youth, we need to have them be eligible, so we would check that. We would check to make sure that they are enrolled. We would make sure that they have completed their pre-assessment, and so we would search, and these youth who are not already placed could then be added to the list. So we go into our placements, and I'm going to place someone at these desks. So I'm going to edit the placements here. And by doing that, I'm going to add a placement. I'm going to select a youth. I'm going to put Parker Posey in there. I'm going to put Parker in as part-time. I'm going to put them in as a regular employee and the type of job, and we're looking for one of these types of jobs. They're going to be office and administrative support. The planned start date can be on a calendar date, since we're just now getting this up, you can predate the actual date. So maybe they started July 1st, and their planned end date is going to be August 20th, whenever the end of their program is. And then you just add the placement. So that now will show up on the screen. We have projected part-time, we have projected full-time, we have part-time placements, which is the person that I just placed, and then we have full-time placements, which at this point in time we do not have any. So that is how to add a placement. And then if you need to take Parker out, all you have to do is look at the, go back to your placements, go back to the job location that you are looking at. So it would be D's desks. We're going to edit placements. And then if we want to remove Parker, then we would just have to click the remove, and it's gone. So if you want to move somebody from one work site to another because they've changed their mind, then that they don't want to do that, then you can just remove them or add them back if they change their mind again, or if you've gotten something wrong in the placement of the system. So do we have any other questions about placement? And Natasha just pointed out that youth can be placed with more than one work site. So if they want to work at maybe in the community garden as well as a regular job, then they can do that. So if we're good with placements, raise your hand with the little man at the top of the screen. If you need me to demonstrate it one more time, I can do that as well. All right, it looks like we're good. Okay, let's go back to our list. I'm going to minimize my share screen for just a moment. We have a question about eligibility and enrollment. Did we get that question answered, or do we need to look at something else in the system? So whoever marked that in there, would you like to let me know if we need to do something else? Show you. When I try to add a placement, position type and worker type drop-down do not work. It says select. And you have Addicts Community Service, Melissa. Melissa, do you have your employers in there with whether it is, did you enter full-time or part-time potential placements, projected placements in there? I think Natasha may have answered that they're going to take a look. When we have another question, when should we close the site for accepting applications? Is that your work site? If you've got all of your positions filled, then you can close. If you end up having students drop, we can reopen again. So Carol, I hope that answers your question.
Yep. And
Okay.
if you need, Carol, if you need us to remove your site from the application, just I'm going to type in an email and just send us an email, and we'll go ahead and get that removed for you.
And then, and again, if you need to add it back, just send that same email address to say you need to add it back. I'm still trying to find out if we have the question for eligibility and enrollment answered before we move on. Did we answer the adding employers question for the person that wanted to ask about that? We have a question here. Does the application that we print have to be dated the same as the enrollment date when they sign the application? Tammy, I think that might be a question for you.
Okay, I was responding to another one. Now, what was the question?
Does the application that we print have to be dated the same as the enrollment date when they sign the application?
No, the application is just when they complete it. So when you sign it with you, enrollment date would be, I mean, after you do all of the eligibility and determination also. So, I mean, once they complete an application, you still have to determine them eligible. So it does not have to be the same as enrollment date.
All right, and we have a question here. How do we get to the everybody's typing and it keeps shifting on me so I can't read the chat pod. How do we get to the initial tab to add the employer? Let me expand my screen here again. And on the screen right now, you should see the Summer Youth Employment page. You will have gone to the bottom of the screen to get to the SYEP guide. At the top of the screen, you log into the sign in to SYEP partner tools. It will take you to the login screen. So you just have to log in with your username. It will take you to the dashboard. And then you will see the dashboard youth, employers, and placements. Under the employers, you click the tab and you just add an employer. So does that answer your question, youth with a positive direction? Okay.
Hey, Dee. We did
Yes.
have a question about people who are registered in the system but are not enrolled. Can we just take a quick look at the dashboard?
Okay.
And again, this is on our test system, so you know, the data is minimal compared to what you'll see on yours. And one of the things is that at the very top where it says eligibility determination, scroll down, you'll see that you have in the yellow, you have your submitted applications. That's just people that have they have gone to the website, they completed an application, they selected your organization to apply for the program, and so they're still waiting for something to be done with them. So what you can do is, you don't have to click on it yet, but you could click on that number and you can see those lists of people, and you can review their application and see if they are eligible, and if they are, and if they, you meet with the youth and they need to update their information, you can always update their information in their application. And once you have determined that they are eligible, if you want to go ahead and go to one of those people, I don't care if it's submitted or eligible. Then you will get your list of people. When you click on that, go to the profile, and then you'll see right there it says eligibility status. You can either set them as eligible or not eligible, and then you can also set them set their enrollment status. So once they're in, that's how you say that they're enrolled. You might have a situation where you the person is eligible, but you don't have a place for them at this time. So you can say do not enroll at this time. So they're still there in your system, ready to be enrolled at any point in time, and you know that you've already reviewed them. Maybe you're just not, you don't have an opening quite yet. So so that's, you have to go in. Just because they complete their application doesn't mean they're automatically enrolled in the program. You review their information, mark them as eligible, and then enroll them.
Great. We also have a question about how do you remove an employer. I saw after somebody has worked there, you cannot remove them.
If you need updates that are, once you've already added somebody or they already have a payroll, upload, which we don't have yet out there yet, but make sure you send those specific ones. If you can't delete a website and you need to for a certain reason, please send those types of requests to the SYEP 2014 at onlyworknet.com.
All right. So Carol Woolfolk, did you just make a mistake, or are they not going to participate? Oh, okay. So then if Pollock's pineapples we don't, Natasha, do you want to note something about that? Or do you want them just to send an email to you?
Yeah, send an email. We haven't added the delete there. If it becomes a point that, we need to have multiple people are requesting the ability to delete one, we just would rather not do that if possible, because there might be other things that are associated with it or attached to it. So we'd like to review those before we just delete a work site.
All right.
Too many other things that could be connected to it.
Good. Melissa asked, do you change the status to eligible according to their online application or not until after you have verified that they are for sure eligible? I would make sure that you have some verification, because if you've made them eligible and they start into the program and then they are not eligible, those monies that you have expended for them would then become non-reimbursable. Is that correct, Tammy?
Yeah, that is correct. Do not mark them eligible until you've done all of your follow-up documentation. You need to have a client file that has the application signed by the youth and by the case manager, whatever their eligibility determination documentation is, whether it's SNAP benefits or income eligibility or a school lunch program, you need to include that in your file. And then, of course, you need the W-9, and then need to be Illinois residents. So make sure you have all of the documentation, accessible, because that will be monitored to determine eligibility.
And then we have a question here. If the youth decides, whoa, it's moving on me again. If the youth decides not to do the summer youth program, can we delete them? If they have been determined eligible, you would just say declined enrollment offer. So Paige, does that answer your question? Okay, and then Natasha also said, Paige, you do not delete the youth. Instead, you would mark them as exited, or if they quit, mark them as exited. We have another question, why a W-9? Wouldn't it be a W-4? A W-9 is different than a W-4, isn't it?
Actually, I think it's an I-9. It's what they have to have for payroll.
I-9 is the
I believe.
the level of their citizenship. Do they have a work visa or do they have their actual citizenship? So that's the difference between the two terms that I think that Marcy is asking about. And Paige says they were not determined eligible, so then not suitable would be not suitable, do not enroll would be the options. Or there is an option under eligible, then there's an option for is not eligible. So that would change up here under the eligibility status. Yes, Marcy, you are correct. I-9 is the employment verification. W-4 is for taxes. Both are needed. Lou, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing this name correctly, Luvinus. If the youth have documentation showing they have a disability or they have previous issues with the law, does that automatically make them eligible for the program? Tammy?
They are automatically eligible, yeah, if they have something from a parole officer. They have to have some sort of documentation of a youth at risk, which would be, it's actually in the manual that we have it in there, so maybe something from the parole officer, something from the court system.
Okay, when will we be able to upload timesheets and where in the system would that be performed? At the top of your dashboard, when the payroll portion is available, it will be in line here where we see dashboard, youth, employers, placements. Then we'll have reports and payroll, something to that effect. We've got the tabs testing out in our building environment. We'll talk about that in our next technical assistance session, hopefully. We have that able to be released very shortly. What form should they bring if they are an at-risk youth? Tammy?
That again, like I said, it's in the procedures manual. At-risk youth is like the court appointed youth. That would be something like from a parole officer or something from the court system showing, that they had involvement with the court system is what we're looking at for that.
Are the final timesheets available, or should we use our own for now? The final timesheets are available in the guide, in the SYEP guide. It is under the work experience box, and if you go scroll down, we have maintained record of hours worked. Youth timesheet is it is an Excel document. It is available on the guide. And Natasha also put that link in the chat pod already. So now I think I may have answered, or we may have answered all of the questions that have been popping up. Let's take a look at our, I'm going to minimize this, maximize this. We have a document that is in review right now that we would like to have you take a look at. Currently, our employer list shows up as we have just seen on the screen, and it shows a list where it says add employers and all of the list of employers below. We're proposing a default view that will show you the number of work sites, what the industry is, what the address is. So instead of seeing the projected openings, instead of seeing the employer name, the work sites, the projected openings, full-time and part-time, and then your placements, would you prefer to see the employer name, the address, the industry, and the work sites? And what we'll do is scroll this down just a little bit, and I'm going to bring up a poll question here for you to answer so that you can help us with the design. And this is just for the employer list. So if you could let me move the poll down, and then move this down just a little bit. So right now with the employers list, you just see the name, the work sites, the openings, and the placements. Would you prefer to see the name, address, what industry it's in, and the number of work sites available? Your answers for this polling question is yes, we like the change, no, leave it the way it is, or I have another idea, and you can either type that idea in the chat pod or you can send it to the email address that we've been placing in the chat pod. And we have another question. When did you say that the payroll tab will be posted? Natasha is hoping that by Tuesday or sooner we will have that available, and we will discuss that next week on the technical assistance session on the 16th. Okay, I'm going to hide this poll and move the document down. For the worksite placements, we have the current view is with these orange boxes, and it's got all of the information here with the projected placements, the actual placements, and then edit placements here. What we're proposing is that we have the link to the details and placements as a link, and then your placements projected. Oh, thank you. Your projected openings, full-time and part-time out there. Just looking at this, I'm wondering if there's a way to edit from the link. Natasha, from the link, would they be able to edit their placements? Is that where they would click on that to add their placements?
The link and the worksite name would take you basically this information up here where you can edit
so
it.
then they could edit the placements from there. Okay.
It's just, I know that there are some people that have, like, for example, 28 work sites, you know, and we just wanted to be able to provide an easy view for them to easily scan and drill down to the information. or do people prefer to have it just all fully listed out without the kind of a summary view?
All right, so now we pulled up another poll question. Would you prefer the proposed changes to the placement view? Yes, no, leave it the way it is, or I have another idea. Can you put your idea in the chat pod or else email us with your idea?
Dee, while they're responding to that, I'd like to respond to Marcy's question regarding the payroll.
Okay.
If obviously you guys have youth that are working and you're doing payroll, you can go ahead and do your internal processes and do payroll. I looked at the comptroller's site today for DCEO grants, and they have been vouchered, so you should be receiving payment from us, hopefully maybe even this week, for the grants that have funds from the state 2014 grants, if you have the 071 series. So, yeah, go ahead. If you have the capability to pay your youth, go ahead and pay them. What you will end up doing then is next week you'll be updating the WorkNet system. So you're going to be downloading the payroll document from WorkNet, and then you'll be uploading that next week. So you potentially may have one or two payrolls that you've already done. You're just going to have to go in and update WorkNet once it's available. So yeah, don't wait for the WorkNet system, the payroll system download. Go ahead and do your payroll, internally, and then you'll catch up to WorkNet once it's available.
All right, do you want to answer LaDonna's question as
Yeah,
well?
the 32 hours. Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of that would be determined, how you determine full-time, part-time, and I guess how the employer determines full-time and part-time too. I guess to me 32 hours may be part-time, but I don't know if there's any definitions that are different for the employer side or not.
I know that there have been other employers that they provide benefits at 32 hours, and that's their determination. But in most situations, um, 32 hours would be considered part-time in the private sector. Um, most of the time, it needs to be at least 35 hours a week for somebody to be considered full-time. But again, it's based on the employer, like Tammy said. Barbara, yes, just what Natasha said, pass your concern along. All right, I'm going to hide this poll. Thank you for helping us make these determinations here with these items. Do we have any other questions that I need to show people with the screen? We have somebody that just typed, or we have two people that just typed other. Is there something else that we can answer for you? If so, please type it into the chat pod. If we've already answered it for you, then just let us know that we've answered it. Celia is asking, can we use our own timesheet format? Tammy, Celia, are you with a DHS grant or a DCEO grant?
For the DCO grants, we prescribe that specific timesheet. So the one that you can get in WorkNet is what we want you to use on the DCO grants. If you're DHS, we can pass that question along also to DHS and see if if they want that to be consistent also.
So Celia said she's DCEO, so you do need to use the timesheet.
The timesheet, yes.
I'll pull my screen open again and show you. It is on the SYEP guide under the work experience box. So you go to the guide, you go to work experience, and it is by maintain record of hours worked, youth timesheet Excel document. And Chelsea just typed the link into the box as well. Thank you, DCO. When is the TA event that we will review payroll, and how can we sign up for it. You can also go to the SYEP guide and training and webinar registration. Just click on that. All of our TA sessions are at 10:30 a.m. on a Wednesday morning, so our next one is July 16th. We're skipping a week and then going to July 30th. We may add one on the 23rd. Just check back with the calendar to see if we add it. We also have a couple in August that we will be answering questions as well. Those need to be added to our Eventbrite. So look for those. Are we able to use our discretion on hours for youth as long as we stay within our budget for youth wages? I believe you're saying whether or not the youth can work full-time or part-time, Cheryl? Is that what you're asking?
And part of that, at least in the DCO scope of works, was outlined in your scope of works. So you indicated how many people you would be serving and, number of hours served. So you need to keep within, your scope of work that you established.
All right. Do we have any additional questions from the audience? We're approaching 45 minutes. We like to try to keep these to 45 minutes or less. But we are getting a lot of questions, so we want to make sure that we're answering your questions. Give it just another moment here. I see a couple people typing, so I want to make sure that we get them. And while we're waiting for those people to type, I'm going to bring the check-ins back over so that you can check in if you did not get to earlier. All right. So if we stated average hours to be 23 and a half, let's say some kids can only do 20, some 30. Can we approve that even if it is not exact to the scope of work as stated? I would say that if you can pull up the average of 23 and a half, that you should probably be okay.
Yeah, you do have some flexibility with that because there's not always control on number of hours, especially at certain work sites. So, I mean, basically in the scope of work, we provide a number of youths that are going to be served. But, as long as you're relatively close on those hours, that's fine.
Will we be able to test up? Whoa, it keeps moving on me. Will we be able to test uploading timesheets and the data entry part of this program? Natasha, are they able to test it, or is it going to go live and that's
It'll go
that's
live, but one of the things that's part of the payroll upload process is that, if something's not right, then it'll give you an error message, and you can just basically abandon the upload, and then make any corrections that you need to make, and then upload it. You can go through that process so that you can review the information, and if it's not right, you don't. It's not all final until you actually complete the submission process. So remember, if you do have any mistakes, we want to minimize this, but if you do have something that needs to be updated or changed, then we can work with you on that.
great.
And Linda, to answer your question, yeah, it would be the TIN number. If you enter your FIN number where it has that TIN number, you can go into your contracts and see what has been vouchered through the comptroller system. There is a delay. There's two options there. I think one deals with contracts and one deals with payments. The top one is contracts and bottom one is actually once it's been vouchered. And once it's been vouchered at the comptrollers, then it's just like a day or two out from being paid.
All right. So once sent, there will be no way to correct an error. Tammy?
I think that deals with payroll.
Yes. I
I mean, last year I think they just made adjustments, right, Tammy?
Yeah, I think if you submit it and then there is an error in that payroll, you'd have to probably get a hold of Natasha, and then you just have to make an adjustment. Potentially, I think in the ne's payroll upload. Is that correct, Natasha?
That's,
They would,
if I remember correctly, that's what they did last year.
or you may have to, like I said, get a hold of WorkNet and they'd make an adjustment to that specific payroll. The one thing when you're doing the payroll uploads, I mean, you want to make sure, I mean, this follows your payroll system. So this is once you've verified timesheets, this is once you've determined how many hours they've worked, and then you've done your payroll process internally. So, once that's all locked down and then you have that established, then, you download this form here and then you upload it into WorkNet. So, and, that should have, hopefully that internal process is done and verified. And there is problems. I mean, sometimes you'll find out, okay, the timesheet was inaccurate from the employer and then, they worked 3 more hours than they had on their timesheet. So that will have to be corrected as you go along. But the payroll upload should be your last process after you've all done your internal processes for payroll.
Right. Right. All right. We did note on Eventbrite we have added the July 23rd date, so you can register for any of these technical assistance webinars, and we will get an email out as a reminder to you. I do not see anybody else typing right now, so we're going to give you one last chance to check in if you have not already, and then we're going to end our recording for the day. Again, if you have any additional questions during the course of the week while you are waiting for the next technical assistance session, you can always send an email to to SYEP 2014 at illinoisworknet.com. You have the ability to go back to the guide. I'm going to put these over here real quickly one more time. You can have the ability to go to the guide, look at all of our archived training webinars that are available. You can look there. You can also look at our full list of resources, and you can go to our frequently asked partner questions. So as we are coming up with questions through these webinars, we add the answers to the FAQ so that you can search there first, look at the webinars second, and then ask us the question if you cannot find your answer. And again, you can click on this box right here to ask your question by submitting it to the FAQ if you cannot find it on the FAQ. So thank you very much for joining us today. We will see you next week at 10:30 a.m. Have a great rest of